Hey there guys, alright, welcome back to another awesome video. It's time for another TV show review. Today's TV show review is going to be of Chucky, Season 1. So Chucky Season 1 follows middle schoolers of a city called Hackensack, and one of the middle schoolers finds a Chucky doll, and then Chucky and shit just wreak havoc throughout the city. So this show is directed by Don Mancini, who I want to assume he's a pretty huge fan of the Child's Play franchise and the Chucky franchise as a whole. Hence why he's probably made this show to make a TV series for Chucky, one of the most iconic killer dolls. And let's really unpack this here because there's a lot to unpack. So let's kind of get into the non-spoiler spots because there are some things that are pretty big and spoilerish in this show. So I will put this warning out here, and I will say it again, but here's a spoiler warning because this is going to be talking about the entire Season 1 of Chucky. So, spoiler warning, you have been warned. I will remind you guys later, but let's just jump into this. And honestly, I like the middle schoolers. It's interesting seeing like young kids again because it's going back and harking back to that idea of that Chucky's like with adolescence and that sort of vibe like Child's Play 3 had, where he was in this environment with young adults, teenagers, adolescents, hormones, shit like that. So middle school is kind of like the small, like almost like the first phase in that hormones and going through crazy shit like that. So it kind of works in his environment, and I guess the way the director was looking at this was that Chucky would kind of be like this manipulative, almost like this bully in a way, and I guess it fits for the show, which is fine. Chucky's still fucking great, but we'll get to more on Chucky in a moment. But let's just get into the middle schoolers. And our main middle schooler is Jake Wheeler, and I think Jake Wheeler is pretty good. I gotta say, this show really has some ballsy moments. I'm surprised by some of the things they get away with, like the slurs they say, the slang, some of the violence, some of the intensities. Some moments are pretty damn good. Like, I'm surprised by this show on where it goes. And having this set with middle schoolers, and in a school you have tons of kids and tons of people you can go and just terrorize and do a whole lot of slasher stuff with this show. Jake, the actor who plays Jake, is great. The kid who plays Devin, I think, is excellent. Honestly, those two are probably my favorites out of the middle school young kids, young actors. His cousin, Jake's cousin, Junior, has moments where I'm like, okay, he's kind of cool at times. And then there's other times where I'm like, okay, you're kind of a dick. Then there's his girlfriend, Lexi, I think her name is. She's a bitch. She has moments where it's like, okay, you're just that pompous, blonde-headed bitch, bimbo, whatever the hell. And it's like, okay, it's just that trope, that stereotype. But then, like, she does have an arc where she is a little bit redeemed. But there's still those moments I just sit and I just could not bear. And there's moments that I sit and I shake my head that I thought they were just stupid or they were just cringy and just like stuff that would be silly in a horror movie that like you'd have in a horror movie. It's in a horror TV show, which it's fine, but it's still, there's moments that I just sit there and I go, like, I laugh at some of these things because of how, like, tropish they are. But let's get into our main man himself, Chucky. And Brad Dourif is just so fucking iconic and so awesome as this character. And I like that the best thing, my favorite thing about this show is his kind of, not only the backstory of where he's kind of comes from, which is kind of unique. It's kind of interesting that he had a good life. He was already crazy at a young age. He was already psychotic. He was already born to be a psychotic killer at a young age. He didn't have a shitty life. He had a good life. He had good parents. It's just, he just had such crazy mental intentions. But I love with his, I guess, philosophy and with his, I guess, a little bit of that backstory is that idea that I love. That's my favorite things about this show. The best characters or the best villains or the best slashers are born evil. Some are created evil, but the best are born evil. Like with Chucky is a great example now that it's established that, and many other characters and other villains that were born evil. And one of my other favorite lines that Dourif brings to the table that's kind of like a very twisted way of thinking is that everyone is a killer if you push them further enough. Like, any single being on the planet could be a psycho and could be a monstrous person if you push him hard enough and you push him further enough. I don't know, it's so delivered so great by him. But let's get into the spoiler territory. And one more time, I'm gonna warn you guys, spoiler warning, because this is where we're gonna get into spoilers. Because once we get to this point, and a certain point in the show, it just becomes batshit bonkers again, which is, it's great, but sometimes there's still moments that I really was like, okay, like, this is a little weird. And then there's some moments it did not sit well with me. But, so, for the good half of this series, it kind of feels like it's a reboot a little. I don't know why. I was so used to seeing these middle schoolers and seeing these kids that I forgot this was a continuation from the previous movies. Because this connects to the previous movies where Jennifer Tilly shows up, Tiffany's back, and then they have Brad Dourif's daughter still playing Nika, and the whole Nika, Chucky split personality going on, and there's that whole crazy plot from Curse or Cult of Chucky where, like, Chucky's essence is, like, in every single doll and every single soul is in every single doll that exists. So there's over millions of these good guy dolls. So each good guy doll has a piece of Chucky's essence, which I forgot they were going in that direction. And then next thing you know, you have Andy Barkley and Kyle being like the Boondock Saints, just fucking up these dolls, going after each individual doll and each individual person that has a good guy doll and just killing the doll in front of the family. Like, there's literally a scene, they show up like private investigators, and it's funny because they're after the doll, they're asking questions, all these other things about Hackensack, and then there's the Chucky doll screaming at Andy for being in the way he is, and he just blows his brain. And they act like fucking Boondock Saints or Jules from Pulp Fiction. It's just, like, this shit, like, just goes off the rails, and it gets fun, but it's, like, you kind of have to expect that from this franchise a little bit. But it's funny because I was taken out of it for a second. It took me a second to realize, oh shit, I forgot. The director wanted this to be a continuation of the movies. So we have, like, these other plots with Tiffany's back, and she wants to have all the dolls be around the world, and Chucky still exists, and Chucky's dead, and he's not dead, and there's still Nika, and then all these other things it just throws at you. It gets crazy insane, but it's fun at times, but at the same time, it really goes a bit too far. But again, I think it is that show that you do expect that from. However, there is one thing that just does piss me off so much about this show, that I did not like how they handled it. It just annoyed me so much because on a personal level. So I think it's Junior's mom. She at one point discovers she has cancer. She has breast cancer, or she has a form of cancer. And so she goes to her therapist, or she goes to a doctor about it, asking, do you want to do chemo? She says no. Do you want to do anything about this? She says no. She's going through all these things, saying no. She doesn't want to go through chemo. She doesn't want to go through all that shit, all that stuff. And the last thing she says, or her doctor says to her, is, do you want to tell your husband and your son about this? She's like, I'm not going to tell them shit. And that annoys the fuck out of me, because the way she's handling how, oh, I'm not going to tell them any of this. I'm not going to tell them about I'm sick and that I'm diseased or whatever. It's like, it pissed me off because from a personal experience, not me personally, but I have had someone personally go through cancer. And the way they handled it with not doing chemo or not telling anyone anything about this and make it seem like, oh, it's just a sickness, it's just a fucking disease. It's like, you got fucking cancer. Like, you're not gonna tell anyone about this. You're not gonna tell your family or friends. You're gonna enclose yourself and not do any treatment or any shit whatsoever. I know, and it's like, it's just a little subplot, but it pissed me off, honestly, and especially when she gets off, I'm like, what the fuck was the point of that? What was the point of having her cancer if she was obviously gonna suddenly get killed off? Like, I get it, the emotional impact, and now a mother figure is gone and most of the parents are dying in this series, and some of the parents are kind of idiotic, and there are some people and some characters that are a bit idiotic, but still, it's just like, I don't know, I just took that a bit personal, but that's just one of the very little things I just didn't like about the show. But, like, I'm mixed about the show. I liked a lot of things it went and did. It was very ballsy, very risky for just something in general. It got intense, it had great moments, it had great suspension, the characters do have likable moments, or at least you have two likable characters, and you have an iconic antagonist, and they obviously set up a season 2 with Tiff now is in her body again, or her doll body somehow, when she's human and she's back in her doll essence and all sorts of crazy shit, and it's off the rails at good times and bad. So I'm going to give Chucky season 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. I think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. So Chucky season 1, have you guys seen it? What did you think of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please smash that button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day, if not every week. Make sure you ring that bell. I do new videos every day, if not every week. Share the video with your family and friends, all that good stuff and more. Leave some suggestions in the comment section. You name it, I'll look into it. If you have any questions for me, leave those in the comments as well. I will build them up to a Q&A. I want to say at least more than 5 questions for the Q&A video, for my first ever Q&A video. And look out for more reviews, look out for more top 10 related things, videos, gaming, all sorts of content, comic stuff coming back, a lot of other things that I said I'm going to keep saying I was going to do back in 2021. I'm going to do before the end of this year, before the end of 2022. So lots more and lots to expect. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.